Steam just got told by a UK tribunal, nope, you don't get to dodge this one, and now Valve has to face a £650 million collective action. It is over how Steam allegedly keeps game prices high. It matters because if the case lands, the default PC store could be forced to stop acting like the rent is due on every download button, and that changes what you pay, and it changes where you buy in 2026. I'm flattered you think I'm a robot, but these vocal cracks and awkward pauses are strictly organic and AI-free. This is one of those stories where the villain is not a dragon, not an alien, not even a guy with a sword. It's a checkbox in a publisher agreement. Yes, a checkbox might be costing UK players real money. And the funniest part is, most people never noticed. Because Steam's UI is basically comfort food. If you've ever thought Steam is expensive, but at least it's easy, congratulations. You are the business model. And I've paid the Gabe tax too. So I'm not preaching from a mountain. Here's the context before the spice. Digital stores aren't just shops anymore. They are social networks, update managers, mod hubs, friend lists, achievement museums. And this is the important bit, gatekeepers. The store that owns your habits doesn't need to win on price. It just needs to make leaving feel like moving out of your childhood home. The scariest DM is emotional attachment. Now, into the UK situation. A class rep company, tied to children's welfare advocate Vicky Shotbolt, filed this claim back in June 2024. It is saying up to about 14 million people in the UK got overcharged on PC games and add-on content since 2018. And on January 26, 2026, the Competition Appeal Tribunal basically said, yeah, this can proceed. Which is legal speak for Valve, stop waving your hands, we're doing this. The courthouse just hit Steam with a very polite come outside. What's the allegation? Not Steam exists, not Steam has sales. Not even Steam's review section is a gladiator arena. The claim is that Valve abuses dominance. It does this by mixing a big commission with rules that discourage publishers from selling cheaper elsewhere, plus restrictions. These restrictions can nudge DLC and in-game add-ons to stay inside Steam. This happens once you bought the base game there. That's the core. Steam allegedly sets the terms, so rival stores can't compete on the one thing normal humans understand instantly: price. Let's talk about price parity, because this is where half the internet goes cross-eyed and starts screaming. But coupons exist. Price parity obligations. Most favored nation vibes. Whatever you want to call it. The idea is simple. If a developer gives another store a better deal, Steam doesn't like it. Maybe the contract says don't undercut us. Maybe the fear is we'll lose visibility. Maybe it's, you'll lose access to features. You don't even need a cartoon thread. The platform's gravity does the work. Monopoly behavior doesn't always wear a top hat. Sometimes it wears a Discover Q badge. And look, I can already hear the comments. Bro, Steam has competition. Sure, technically, so does Netflix. And yet you're still paying for 4 services. Because every show got kidnapped by a different logo. Competition that feels like homework isn't competition that changes behavior. Steam's cut is the headline people fight over. The classic number is 30%, and Valve has offered tiered reductions for bigger revenue hits. But for most games the mental model stays. Steam takes a third. Now defenders say that cut pays for servers, fraud prevention, distribution, bandwidth, updates, workshop, community, refunds, support, and all that. Critics say it's a toll booth on a road Valve already owns. And the booth operator is also the map app telling you which road to take. It's not just a cut. It's leverage with a receipt. Here's why the UK case is spicy. It's framed as harm to consumers, not just devs. That matters. Because dev lawsuits can get stuck in the weeds if you agreed to the contract, while consumer cases can focus on market effects. Higher prices, fewer real alternatives, and lock-in. The angle is basically excessive commissions plus restrictive rules equals overcharging passed down to players. That's a narrative tribunals understand, without needing a Steamworks API manual. Now let's be honest about gamer behavior. Because nobody wants to admit this on camera. Steam doesn't have you at gunpoint. Steam has you with convenience. You've got your friends list there, screenshots are there, wish list is there, your backlog is there, mocking you like a therapist who charges per hour. So when another store pops up and says, please install me, your brain goes, I already have an app for buying games, thanks. The market is decided by laziness, not ideology. This is why they just use another launcher argument always faceplants. If prices are the same, switching stores is pure friction, with zero reward. If a publisher is discouraged from pricing lower elsewhere, the friction stays, the reward disappears, and Steam remains the default. That's what dominant platform means in real life. You don't have to be the only shop. You just have to be the shop people don't want to leave. Cue Epic Games Store, the eternal disruptor with the Fortnite wallet. Epic runs a 12% store cut on standard sales and makes noise about being pro-developer, which is fair as a talking point, but as a user experience, Epic has spent years feeling like an early access launcher that never shipped its feature roadmap. I'm not even trying to be mean. The launcher has improved, but Steam is a decade ahead in community glue. Epic can buy games, but it can't buy a habit, and yes, the free games. Epic's weekly freebies are like the mall food court sample tray, except the sample is a 60-hour RPG you'll never touch. You claim it, and you feel rich. Then it goes to the digital graveyard next to the other 200 titles you swore you'd play. After work calms down, work never calms down. That's adulthood. The true final boss is your calendar. Epic's exclusivity era also taught a brutal lesson. Gamers will wait. People treat Steam releases like a proper launch, and Epic releases like a beta period you can skip. It's petty. It's irrational. And it's exactly how brand loyalty works. So Epic tries to compete on money. Steam competes on comfort. And the audience competes on who can pretend a corporation loves them. That's the nerd civil war. Meanwhile, Valve's public persona is basically Gabe Newell doing monk vibes in a Seattle fortress. No tweets, threads. No we hear you. Just the occasional hardware drop. A Steam Deck refresh. And the quiet sound of everyone logging in anyway. It's the silent monopoly energy. Where else are you going to go, champ? The loudest flex is not needing to speak. Now zoom out to the real player experience, the launcher plague. In 2010 you installed a game. In 2016 you installed a launcher. In 2022 you installed a launcher to launch the launcher. That launches the DRM. That launches the account login. That launches the patcher. That launches the game. By 2026 I'm half convinced my toaster will demand a Ubisoft password. One more login screen. And I'm applying for asylum in the offline world. This matters because platform power doesn't just affect prices. It shapes the whole ecosystem. Publishers saw Steam's grip and tried to copy it. EA App, Ubisoft Connect, Battle.net, which at least has a personality, Rockstar Social Club, which has the personality of a parking ticket. These things aren't built for you. They're built so a publisher can say direct relationship, while you forget your password again. The worst part is, you still often buy the game on Steam, and end up forced into the publisher launcher anyway, like buying a burger, and being told you must also eat the wrapper. Georgi sits in the corner like that one guy at the party who quietly tells the truth. DRM free, offline installers, actual ownership vibes, and what's the reward for being the most pro-consumer? A smaller catalog, fewer day one hits, and a niche audience who remembers when game manuals were thick enough to stop a bullet. Freedom is unpopular when it requires effort. This is where the UK claim tries to hit Valve. If Steam's dominance is maintained through rules that keep prices from meaningfully dropping elsewhere, then rival stores can't get traction. Devs can't bargain, and consumers pay more than they would in a real competitive market. That's not a feelings argument, it's a competition law argument. And the tribunal, letting it proceed, signals the methodology and class definition were good enough to fight about in court, not wave away at the door. Now, I'm going to do the YouTube thing, and give you the cynical translation. No billionaire is doing this because they love you. Valve wants to protect its moat. Epic wants to dig a new moat. Publishers want you locked into their moats. Everybody wants recurring revenue and predictable margins. Because Wall Street loves predictability more than it loves fun. The industry's favorite genre is platform capitalism. So what happens if Valve loses or settles or gets forced into behavior changes? Possibility 1, parity-style clauses get limited or banned in specific ways, which could let other stores undercut Steam more often. Possibility 2, commission structures get pressured. Possibility 3, nothing changes for you immediately, except a compensation website pops up, and half of Twitter pretends they're competition law experts. Possibility 4, Valve wins, and we all go back to hitting add to cart like it's muscle memory. The only guaranteed patch is more discourse. Also, the since 2018 part is important, because the case is about a period where digital distribution is mature, and Steam is undeniably massive. This isn't 2005 Steam, awkward and clunky, forcing Half-Life 2 updates on people like a surprise dentist appointment. This is modern Steam, the default PC gaming dashboard, the thing you open even when you're not buying anything. And that's why the alleged harm can be framed as sustained, broad, and measurable. Let's talk psychology. Because Valve's real weapon isn't pricing. It's the Steam sale. Steam trained an entire generation to delay purchases until a seasonal ritual. Then binge buy like it's Black Friday at a digital Costco. You don't buy the game, you buy the feeling of getting a deal. Then you never play it. Because you're busy, and the backlog becomes a shrine to your optimism. Your library is not a collection, it's a guilt machine. Now imagine being a competitor store. How do you beat that? You can't out-feature it quickly. You can't out-community it overnight, so you try to beat it on price. But if publishers are constrained from offering meaningfully lower prices elsewhere, your strongest lever gets snapped off. That's why the lawsuits focus on pricing conditions matter so much, even to people who never read a legal PDF. And yes, there is literally a legal PDF about this. Nothing says fun hobby like a 600-page tribunal judgment. To be clear, Valve denies wrongdoing, and will argue its terms are normal. Its cut is industry standard, and developers can sell on other platforms. That defense has mileage, because the world is messy, and competition cases are complicated. But the tribunal deciding the case can proceed means the claimant has at least a plausible route to showing dominance and abuse, not just vibes and angry forum posts. And here's where I get a little spicy. Gamer culture has this weird Stockholm syndrome with platforms. People will defend Steam the way sports fans defend a team owner who jacked up ticket prices. It's like, sure, he's bleeding everyone, but he's our billionaire. No, he is not your billionaire. Your relationship is transactional, and you're the transaction. Meanwhile, Epic fans act like a lower cut automatically equals moral superiority. Also no, Epic's store is a strategy weapon. Free games are marketing spend. Exclusives are leverage. The goal isn't fairness. It's market share, bargaining power, and control. When a corporation gives you a gift, check the receipt. So what should a normal gamer do with this information? First, stop treating stores like identities. Second, buy games where the deal is genuinely better for you, not where the logo makes you feel safe. Third, consider DRM free when it makes sense, especially for single-player stuff you want to keep long-term. Fourth, stop pre-ordering digital products like scarcity is real. Fifth, play the games you already own. Yes, I said it, the backlog is calling, and is disappointed. If you're in the UK and you've bought games or DLC through Steam, in that 2018 and up window, the claim's public-facing site says it's seeking compensation for people who paid too much. And it stresses it's not trying to shut Steam down. That's important messaging, because nobody wants to be the guy who killed Steam. Imagine that headline, you'd be doxxed by lunchtime. Where does this go next? Procedurally, certification is not a win on the merits. It's the court saying, this group can bring the case, and the arguments aren't nonsense. Now comes the long grind evidence. Economic models, arguments about market definition, and Valve trying to show that dominant doesn't mean abusive. The boss fight is paperwork, and it has way too much health. And for everyone outside the UK, don't laugh too hard. This kind of case is part of a bigger global conversation about platform power. Apple, Google, console storefronts, mobile marketplaces, digital fees, payment rails, same movie, different cast. Steam just happens to be the one PC gamers are emotionally married to. So yeah, the UK lawsuit is a big deal. It's a rare moment where Steam's invisible rules get dragged into daylight. And daylight is the enemy of quiet convenience taxes. Maybe it forces change. Maybe it fizzles. Either way, it proves something gamers hate admitting. Your hobby is an industry, and the industry is political. Because money is political. The culture war is not just on Twitter, it's in the checkout button. I'll leave you with the simplest frame. Steam is the best store, which is why Steam can get away with being the most aggressive store. Epic is the loud challenger, which is why Epic has to bribe you with freebies and promises. GOG is the principled uncle, which is why most people ignore him until the power goes out. Pick your poison, but at least know what you're drinking. Anyway, keep your wallet shut until reviews are out. Keep your accounts secured. And please stop defending companies that would replace you with a pop-up ad if it improved engagement by 2%. If you want to win the store wars, play fewer logos and more games. And if the next launcher asks for two-factor again, tell it I said it can catch these hands.